Motoring 2010 on TSN is brought to you by Quaker State, real durable oil, and Michelin, a better way forward.
You know, Canadians love to talk and complain about the weather. It's either too cold or too hot, but at least it gives us something to talk about. So with that in mind, I'm in Ottawa. The temperature is about 29 Celsius. They tell me it feels like, and it does, 32, and it's really humid. So if you're driving, it's a good day. Put the windows up and turn on that AC full blast, right? Well, maybe not. If you own a convertible, you've got the top down, that hot, searing, burning sun is in your face, that sweat is trickling down your spine, giving you that nice wet look when you get out of the car, right? As you can tell, I'm not a big fan of convertibles, and if I'm driving one, the hat's on and the AC is cranked. However, this week, Mercedes would like to show us a new convertible, make that a cabriolet, that they say is the ideal soft top for all four seasons.
It's pretty well a world car, but in some countries people have them but may not necessarily drive them with the top down because it's just simply too warm. I think Canada is a perfect market because we have four seasons, and this vehicle was designed for four seasons. And a day like today when it's about 23 degrees, nice breeze, it's just perfect.
We launched the E-Class Coupe a couple of years back, and this is the next evolution, the next addition to the E-Class family. It is the successor of the CLK in more ways than one, but it has been properly aligned as far as equipment, fit and finish, and feel to the rest of the E-Class family.
Mercedes doesn't seem to be able to do anything wrong. Every month I get these reports, these sales reports, and once again they've got record figures, and they're selling these really expensive cars. They're beautifully built, and I guess there's a lot of people out there, the one thing they want to get when they hit the peak of their career is a Mercedes-Benz, and even if it's an entry-level car, that's what they want, and they're buying them.
It's launching with two engines. There's an E350 and an E550. E350 is a 3.5-liter V6, makes 268 horsepower. The 550 is a 5.5-liter V8, making 382 horsepower.
Both very good. I wouldn't bother with the big powertrain myself. I'd buy the smaller engine because I think it does everything so well. It's got lots of power, lots of torque, very smooth, very refined, and I wouldn't really move up to the big engine unless I had money to throw around, which some people do.
We're debuting a world first, a technology known as AirCap. AirCap has two main parts. The first part is a lamella, or a spoiler that extends from the top of the windshield frame. The second part is a mesh net that extends in between the two rear headrests. And working in unison together, they kind of create a cocoon of air inside the vehicle. The lamella over top of the vehicle helps to drive the air over the top of the passenger area, and the windbreak at the back stops the air from swirling back in. So with the windows up, with the windows down, provided you have air cap open, it's far less turbulent and far less noisy.
It doesn't seem to be that efficient, and looking at it closely, it has this mesh that really catches bugs, and I think that there's going to be a lot of bug cleaning on any vehicle equipped with that device. It's possibly a technological blind alley, but it's a good effort.
As you might expect with a coupe, not a lot of room in the trunk, although on the good side, when the top is down, you don't lose any room, which is maybe one reason Mercedes went with the canvas top instead of the hard retractable that actually folds right into the trunk.
By making the E-Class Cabriolet a true cabriolet with a soft top, it affords you far more space in the back. It means that you don't have to make as many exceptions or take as many liberties when it comes to the exterior design as far as cut lines, creases, and folds are concerned. And with the newest technologies that we have in soft top construction, it's just as quiet and just as thermally insulated as a newer folding retractable hardtop.
You know, it's just my opinion, but the very nature of a convertible without the hardtop lends it to being a less safe vehicle. But this E-Class is loaded with safety technology. You got 11 airbags, 1 million sensors, electronic stability control, and any of those sensors, if they detect that this car is getting out of shape and may roll, well, these hidden roll bars in a heartbeat will pop right up, and you've also got reinforced high-strength steel in that A-pillar to save your butt.
It really and truly is a cabriolet that's suited to all 4 seasons with the combination of air cap, the air scarf technology that we've seen on the SLK and SL, which is a neck level heating system with air vents, climate control system that we have built into the vehicle. It really and truly is usable with the top down from early spring till late in the fall. And when it does hit the depths of winter, you're able to put that thermally insulated, acoustically insulated soft top up and have a car perfectly suited for the winter as well.
I'm not really a convertible person, and I wouldn't really buy a convertible, but having said that, there's nothing better on a nice day to be driving a car like this, Mercedes, with a bit of sun in your face. It's a wonderful feeling.
The truck driver's secret weapon? There you have it. Because what you people do on the roads makes these guys sick. More later on Kenzie's Corner.
Around the world, it's been wowing its owners with its fun-to-drive quotient and fuel efficiency. On this edition of Test Drive, the all-new Mazda 2, a car that is long, long overdue. The Mazda 2 comes with a lot of very pleasant surprises. First, it's remarkably roomy given its subcompact dimensions. It's just 3950mm in length, but it does ride on a generous 2489mm wheelbase. Then there's the Zoom engineered into the suspension. It is both comfortable and sporty at the same time. The setup is fairly basic, but it's been tuned to limit body roll without beating up the riders. Kudos for the steering's feel and feedback too. It's nicely weighted at speed and it's nice and light when parking. The latter is somewhat of a rarity as the Mazda 2 uses an electrically assisted system. The P185/55R15 tyres then deliver the desired lateral grip. The perky exterior style really does flow into the cabin of this Mazda 2. For instance, the materials, they're surprisingly good, especially the piano black and some of the silver accents. If you go with the GS, you also get these up-level seats. They're comfortable and supportive without being confining. You'll also find all the right toys. The air is conditioned, the radio is proud. You also get cruise and audio-mounted controls on the steering wheel. There are, however, a couple of things that really do let the side down. First of all, this is not the best way of plugging in an iPod. You also don't get a USB input. The other thing, the recirc lever right here, it is flimsy to the point where it's going to snap off in your fingers. When it comes to power, the Mazda 2 has, well, enough. No, the 100 horsepower, 98 pound-feet of torque is not going to knock anybody's socks off, but it delivers a surprisingly spry turn of speed. This car only weighs 1,075 kilograms. If you don't mind stirring your own gears, the manual gearbox makes much better use of the power, the advantage being that it comes with 5 speeds. For a car with compact dimensions, the back seat of this Mazda 2 is surprisingly accommodating, and it boils down to a number of clever things. First of all, the seat's sculpted out of the back here, and it sits well off the floor. As a result, plenty of knee room and somewhere to put your feet. You've also got a ton of headroom. The one thing you don't want to do, put more than 2 people in the back seat, but that shouldn't come as a surprise. The automatic, which does have an on-off switch for the overdrive, makes do with 4 speeds. While it slips through the gears in a seamless fashion, to access the engine's meat requires the driver to take a pretty big whip to the gas pedal. Under these conditions, the Mazda 2 boasts decent off-the-line performance and reasonable mid-range pep. The Mazda 2 takes about 10.5 seconds to reach 100k, which is enough for the cut and thrust of the morning commute. However, the engine does get a little busy at highway speeds. It revs away at around 3,000 RPM at 110k. For a small car, there's a surprising amount of space in this Mazda 2. With the seats in the upright position, there's about 13 cubic feet. If you fold the back seats down, that number grows to 28 cubic feet. However, there is a drawback. The seat backs only fold flat. That means that they stand about 100 millimeters proud of the floor. So if you put a big box in, it tends to teeter-totter on the seat back. I really would like to see the rear seat tumble forward against the front seats. Beyond that, the anti-lock brakes deliver plenty of stopping power and an easily modulated pedal. Ditto the electronic stability and traction control system. It stays out until there is a real need for intervention. The likeable part is that the Mazda 2 darts wherever the driver points it, and at this end of the price ladder there are very few cars that are as nimble or as much fun to drive. This Mazda 2 was well worth the wait. Yes, its automatic transmission could do with 1 or 2 more gears, and the rear seat should tumble forward to give you a flatter floor. But that's about the extent of its shortcomings. In fact, the one thing that really impressed me about this car, it can be likened to a front-drive version of the MX-5 or Miata to old farts like me. You take this car, drive the tyres off it, and it just comes back for more.
Michelin, a better way forward.
Today we're launching the Michelin Primacy MX-M4 tire. This tire is designed for owners of luxury vehicles, and our consumer research has shown that these consumers want everything. They want great performance, they want longevity, they want safety, and they want fuel efficiency. One of the key claims that we're making here is the ability to stop up to 19 feet shorter than the competition. That's driven by a new technology that we're introducing for the first time in an all-season tire, and that is called the Helio compound technology. And the critical ingredient in this compound is sunflower oil. It's an oil that we put into the tread compound, and that allows us to break the compromise between wet traction and snow traction. So we can deliver significantly improved wet traction up to 19 feet shorter than the competition while maintaining the level of snow traction that's needed in an all-season tire.
Well, when it comes to Michelin, we always know it's been a quality name. There's not a question about that. But this is a new tire, it's a new tire design, it's new technology, and it's very green also, which is not just rolling resistance. The fact it's reusing things like sunflower oil is very cool. But this is stuff consumers want to know, and this is a good story. There's a lot to talk about.
We think it's important for people not only to hear, but to experience it. And we know that if you experience the product and you see the differences that we're talking about, that you'll be able to communicate that message as well.
115.7.
Ooh, I got good stopping distance. When you're in a situation, someone jumps out in front of you, a deer, a car, a child, you want to be able to control that vehicle. And if you don't have good tires, it's going to make a difference.
Make sure you check out the motoring website at motoringtv.com. You can watch any program you may have missed. In fact, how about a trip down memory lane and see what we were driving as far back as 1988. Check out our blog, our photo gallery, and much more. It's all there at motoringtv.com.
This is still really critical to the Canadian automotive industry and certainly to General Motors. These are work tools for a lot of people, or play tools for guys and gals that have lots of fun with big rigs, boats, horse trailers, you name it.
You can pretty much turn these into a cowboy Cadillac if you want. It's leather and wood grain trim and chrome things throughout the cabin and GPS, and really anything you can find in a car you can have in one of these trucks.
You know, the Mercedes-Benz E-Class is not called a convertible, it's called a cabriolet. And the dictionary defines cabriolet as a two-wheeled, doorless hooded, one-horse carriage that was used in 18th century France. Now, I got nothing against horses, but I prefer horsepower and the modern day carriage. All right, now let's head to the Quaker State Garage and join Bill Gardiner.
Oh, Brad, I couldn't agree with you more, buddy.
And when we're talking about horsepower, boys will be boys, right? The more the better. Now this week we're looking at the Kia Forte, great little car, had a lot of seat time in it, and one thing I've really noticed is in the powertrain department, the Forte really stands out from the crowd, meaning the other competitive cars in its class. Let's go under the hood and see why. When you go under the hood, you'll see one of the key differences between the Forte and its competitors, and that is the engine displacement. Now, there's two available engines in Forte. They're both double overhead cam, 16-valve, 4-cylinder engines, liquid cooled. But the big difference versus the competition is the size of the engine. The base engine in the Forte is a 2-liter engine, and the optional engine, which happens to be in this particular car we've got here today, is a 2.4-liter engine. Now, the 2-liter engine makes 156 horsepower, and the 2.4 makes 173 horsepower. And its peak torque comes in at 4,000 RPM on the larger 2.4 engine. I really like this 2.4 engine. I've driven 2-door and 4-door models of Fortes. I've driven them with automatics and with the 6-speed manual. With the 6-speed manual, this car's a delight to drive, believe me. It's got so much muscle that it can pull a really tall gear ratio in 5th and 6th gear. So as you're cruising along the highway, even if you come to a hill, it'll muscle up that hill without the engine lugging. If it's an automatic, it doesn't even need to downshift. You can tip in the throttle a little bit and it'll muscle its way up the hill without any fuss or muss. It's great. And if you look at other cars in their class, give you an example, Civic, the engine's a 1.7-liter engine. The Forte with the bigger engine with the 2.4, way more muscle, way more fun to drive, still gives you great fuel economy. And if you look around the engine bay of this car and the way it's laid out, still easy to work on. There's tons of room to get at everything. It's a great layout. Now, time will tell how it's going to stand up. Very new in the marketplace, of course. You take care of it. It's probably going to give you great service. I'm sure that's going to be the case here. But in the meantime, lots of fun to drive. And another thing I like about the 2.4-liter, the optional engine in the Forte, timing chain. No timing belt to mess with. It's got a chain-driven camshaft, lubricated by the engine oil, maintenance-free forever. None of this replacing the timing belt as quote-unquote scheduled maintenance. Read lots of money, boys, on many of the other small cars. That's a big advantage right there. Love this little car, had lots of seat time in it. I'd buy one. Till next week, I'm Bill Gardiner for Motoring 2010.
You know, selling cars for a Mercedes would be great, but this job ain't too bad at all. Well, actually, I've been being valet service for 13 years now. I've been doing this full time. And this new E-Class is, to me, where Mercedes should be heading. They're on the right path. I mean, the lines on this car is beautiful. As the new front fascia, very, very modern. They've completely changed the look of the car, and I think they're appealing to a much younger market. I think it's a very now competitive market, because I think that BMW had a step ahead because of the sport feel of the drive. I think with the new aged Mercedes now, and especially this sport enthusiast type driving, they're dead on race to race. It's a new race, it's a new market. I do not have a side job for Mercedes, but I'm open to offers.
Closed captioning of Motoring 2010 is brought to you by the most fuel-efficient crossover on the highway, the all-new Chevy Equinox.
If you see a crash at the side of the road and it involves passenger cars and big trucks, chances are your first thought is, those truck drivers again, there they go. In fact, just the other day, we had a big crash here in the Toronto area, major freeway interchange. Truck took the corner too fast, rolled over, blocked the road for hours. But you know, as I'm learning here at the Ontario Truck Drivers Championship, which you saw last week on the show, the truck driver, 99% of the time, it's not his fault. I mean, think about it. These rigs, they weigh up to 130,000 pounds. Do you think they can stop on a dime? They can't even stop on a toonie. They can't even stop in the amount of money Brad pays me in a year. These things are amazing to drive. I just did a little spin in the countryside just in the tractor trailer alone. 18-speed transmission. Fortunately, it's all automatic. But I tell you, you've got to really be paying attention in these things because the brakes, well, they work, but they do take a little bit of time. So what can you do as a passenger car driver to try not to get involved with one of these guys? Well, don't do what a guy Brad saw the other day did, and that was driving along, all of a sudden deciding, oh, there's my exit ramp. He crosses 4 lanes of traffic, cuts off 3 big trucks, no turn signal, and the poor truck drivers are going nuts to try to avoid this guy. Now, there were 2 young children in the back seat of this car, and on the rear window was a baby on board sticker. What he forgot to put on was idiot behind the wheel. I mean, if you're driving behind a gravel truck, for example, remember, they're one of the few sets of truck drivers that are still paid by the load. So every extra load they make in a day, that's money in their pocket. So these are the guys that are typically going to push the rules a little bit. So you got a gravel truck that's 4 feet behind you on your rear bumper. Don't brake test them. Get the heck out of the way. And remember, the middle lane is the only passing lane most of these trucks are allowed to use. Oh, and also, if you're behind a gravel truck, stay way behind them because there's a lot of crap coming off of those wheels and you don't want your windshield to pay the price. So yeah, we got 130,000-pound trucks. You got a 3,000-pound car. Think about it a little bit, give them lots of room, and then everybody gets home safe. I'm Jim Kenzie.
Off the top of the program, I mentioned that I'm not big on convertibles. Could be an age thing. However, it's hard not to like this new E-Class cabriolet. It looks terrific, it drives great, it comes with all the advanced safety systems and technology that you expect and you pay for in a Mercedes-Benz. However, one of the big new features is that air cap that's supposed to block out the wind noise in the passenger compartment. Does it work? I'm not really buying it. It sounded like any other luxury cabriolet to me, and that's not a negative. I really enjoyed the drive. And you know, if you really don't want the top-down experience, why don't you buy the hardtop coupe? Before we go, a reminder to join us on Facebook and visit our website for the total motoring experience. That's it for now. We'll see you next time out as we continue to bring you more stories about cars and the people who drive them.
You know, you talked about the Regal, and then you're talking about, you know, a true sports car. Something that's a sports luxury car where you're still buying something that's very premium, but something that you can take out, you know, on an afternoon and still be happy with.
Motoring 2010 on TSN has been brought to you by Quaker State, real durable oil, and Michelin, a better way forward.